Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. Got John Hammonds here with me, and we are here to do a version of Week 16 Big Fuss Show. Totally wrong.
Can I please have your attention?
There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what that was. I played the wrong thing. That's all it was. Stuff
only
like
Brad
that happens every now and then.
Only Brad Harvey on the College Sports.
Hey, stuff like that happens. I'm sharing this with a few people, and there's other stuff on here, and I swear it looked like it's the same colors that mine is, and I just kind of glanced down and thought that was it, and then I thought, what is that?
Yeah,
We're here to do our Big Fuss Show. Hammonds is with me tonight. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
We always got to start out with something going on. You know how that is.
Yeah,
so
we
I'm
can't-
wearing my Untouchables 1996 champs home field apparel. It is scrolling across the bottom. It's Christmas season. There is specials going on there. You can use our code CSCast at homefieldapparel.com. That'll help us out, give you some cool gear. There's over 180 teams to choose from. They got cool vintage retro logos, mascots, throwback teams like this one, all kinds of different designs, and it's really cool. So check them out. Thought I would put that on tonight. This one's pretty new, so all right. So first thing I'm going to start out with tonight, John, what about Monday Night Football last night being the Kentucky edition of Monday Night Football? I mean, honestly, if I was the coaches, and I'm sure they're on it because they're pretty good with all this, Morrow and Stoops and all them are pretty good with it. If I was them, I look at the stars that we have that's up and coming in the NFL, because last night you had Will Levis coming from behind with 3 minutes to go. First time in 50 years that's been done, by the way. 14 points down. He comes from behind and beats Miami last night, the Dolphins, 28-27. There was 2 games on. In the other game, late in the game, there was a fumble that was recovered by Carrington Valentine from the Packers, picked it up and ran it like inside the 10, set up a touchdown that went, so the Packers went ahead, and then they had a 2-minute drive, the Giants did, and the guy who caught the pass that ran it down the field to set up the winning field goal was none other than Wan'Dale Robinson
Yeah.
with the Giants last night.
Well, and that's the thing too. The Packers had this game won. Like the Packers had this game won, and the Dolphins had this game won. Both teams, and they blew the game. Like
they did. I mean, they did absolutely. They did 100%. But I was just really astonished. I mean, we're talking about the NFL here, and the playmakers that were on the field last night were Kentucky Wildcats. Late in the game, when the game mattered, they were all Kentucky Wildcats last night. And guys that haven't been in the league very long, Carrington Valentine and Will Levis are rookies.
Mm-hmm.
And Wandale Robinson's only been there. This is his second year. And to be honest with you, he missed most last year with an injury. He only played one or two games.
Yeah, he made a comment on his Twitter. He said, "This time last year I was going in for surgery." And he said, and now I'm winning a big game on Monday Night Football, which the Giants are still in the playoff hunt, to be honest, even at their record, which I don't think it hurts the Packers as much because the Packers are still right there. I think they're the last wild card, but that's a game you shouldn't lose the way they lost.
I'm a Packer fan, and you know that, John. So it hurts me to say, won that, picked it up and won it. But, I mean, it's what happened. I'm just saying it was something that Kentucky could use in recruiting to say, look what we're building. And it was all done on Monday Night Football. It's pretty nice. I liked it. Watching it all. Will Levis, I told you guys. I told you. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep saying it because I told y'all that he has and I'm telling you, I've been selling it. I've been saying it on this show. Last season, I had an NFL draft insiders for the Seahawks and the Packers on this show in April. And I told both of them this very same thing. And all the NFL people wanted to act like Levis might be a bust. And I kept telling them, you're missing it. You're missing it. He has that X factor, that dog in him, that it factor, and a lot of these other guys that was in that draft don't have it. Mm-hmm. And I kept telling people that, but nobody would listen to me. And then you see Carrington Valentine picking up a fumble and running it back to set up the go-ahead touchdown for the Packers. You see Wandale Robinson making plays over 100 all-purpose yards. He had 36 rushing, 79 and 6 receptions, 79 yards passing, 6 receptions last night for the Giants. And it was just really cool to see it all unfold last night, the Kentucky edition of Monday Night Football. So we got Jerry Carter with us and Josh Hart. What's up, guys? Want to get that out there. But all right, so moving on from that, we'll go to some college sports news and start in with some of that. So there's tons of transfer portal stuff going on, and we'll get to some of that in a little bit. But Texas A&M linebacker Cooper declared for the draft today. Mm-hmm. I find this one a little interesting. The Florida Gators Attorney General, the Florida Attorney General is trying to file something through the courts on the college football playoff. we're going to talk about it a little bit further later in the show. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but I did want to report on it. And the reason why I said Florida Gators is the guy the woman that's doing it. Sorry, her name is Ashley Moody, is her name.
Mhm.
She is a former Florida Gator school there. She went to Florida, which I find is interesting that they are filing something for the Florida State, big rival over there.
Mhm.
And I find that a little bit interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, let's get to some transfer portal news for today. So Riley Leonard announces he's going to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to transfer to Notre Dame. He's actually going to be skipping the bowl as well for Duke, which I think with them losing their coach and now losing their quarterback, that's going to be tough on them.
And he also said he had in his he had a do not contact tag. So basically he already knew where he was going, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. I had heard, to be honest with you, through some of my contacts and stuff, I had heard well over a week ago that that's where he was going. Probably before the portal even opened, to be honest. I had heard that's where he was going, was Notre Dame, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Insider with Notre Dame.
He's going to Notre Dame, Josh.
The Fanboys podcast, Nathan. Yeah. So I had kind of heard that anyway. Tonight, Tyler Van Dyke announced he from Miami is transferring to Wisconsin. Deion Burks, wide receiver from Purdue, who's a really good wide receiver, is transferring to Oklahoma. Today, Kentucky got good news again with a top running back from Ohio State, Chip, and I'm not sure how he pronounces his last name. Do you know, John? Trayanum? Something like that?
Something to that regard, yeah.
It's like Chip Trayanum, but I'm not 100% sure that's the correct pronunciation.
Well, some of these names, some of the big names are still on the board. You know, you got Cam Ward, and he hasn't really decided where he's going to go, but he's left the option open to go to the NFL too. You got Will Rogers. He's taking a trip to Washington tomorrow. Him and the running back Marks from Mississippi State.
He is.
You got Trevor Etienne from Florida. That's the younger brother of the Clemson running back that plays for the.
I hear he's a Georgia lean, by the way.
He is, and then you got the wide receiver from.
I don't know South if that rumor is going to turn out to be true.
Well, and you got the guy from South Carolina that is probably one of the biggest wide receiver portal guys he's probably the big bag of fish, Juice Wells. He's looking for a deal. I'd heard Tennessee was in on him, and then it kind of slowed off with Tennessee, and I've heard other teams. So I don't really. This is going to go on till at least January. So a lot of guys ain't going to pick until probably the end of Christmas. So
yeah, it's going to be the middle of January.
Yeah, it's going to happen all the way up to the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about Cam Ward. Cam Ward is leaving open the option of going to the NFL, but he's also he is going to take a trip to Florida this weekend, basically, and he is going to Miami and Florida State, both this weekend. DJ U, who played at Clemson, is taking a visit to FSU.
Yeah.
I find that one a little bit interesting.
Now, I will say this.
Taking a visit there.
I will say this.
News, Nick.
What Nick is saying. Nick is saying. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard through some, I wouldn't say sources, but just tea leaves talking, that Kentucky was really in on Macklin, the North Texas wide receiver. I don't know how far they are with that kid, but he would be a really good pickup. He's a former Missouri. He played at Missouri before
he visited last weekend. Macklin did.
Yeah. So Macklin's
he was there. He visited last weekend.
And Vandergriff, he kind of pitched the idea to him. They had a Twitter thing, and a bunch of the Kentucky media kind of tweeted it out that he was like, "What are we going to do?" Vandergriff, like they was kind of going back and forth. So maybe we get another commitment here soon. Who knows?
Yeah. It's one to keep an eye out. I have not heard any leans anywhere. I've not heard that. But I do know that Kentucky's going after him, and he did visit, and they do have a chance. So I have not heard any leans on him anywhere. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. He's one that I would love to have, though. He would be a great pickup. 6. I'm going to get that up. We're going to move on to our pick 6. Our first pick 6, we're going to talk about college basketball. So far, a little over a month into the season, about 5 weeks into the season now. Everybody's played somewhere between 8 and 10 games, something like that. Who do you think is your top 6 teams for our pick 6?
I think your number 1 has to be Arizona. Caleb Love, that backcourt with him and Kylan, they're really, really good. And they got Bavo in the middle. Arizona is going to be a problem going forward. Second, you're probably going to look at Purdue. Edey, he had 35 points against Alabama Saturday. And they got a big one this weekend against Arizona, and I'm going to say this, it's on Peacock, ladies and gentlemen. It's not on regular TV. It's on Peacock. The number 1 team versus the number 3 team is on Peacock. So I don't like that idea.
But that's the world we live in, John. Now
it is. I agree with you, but it should be on CBS or at least a high channel.
Let me tell you what I'm going to say about that. Yeah, but hang on. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say about that. If that's what they want to do and put it on streaming network, then let them pick up however many people. Let them lose 5 million people watching it because they can't get it. Don't be jumping ship and thinking you got to pick this up and that up and everything else. If you want to be, then don't be picking that crap up and make them lose 3 million people watching it, because that's where they put it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
But to go on, Purdue's got some really good guards. Braden Smith. That guard play of Purdue is really, really good. And the with Edey coming back. This is a better Purdue team than they was a year ago, I think, in my eyes. The number 3 team, I'm gonna go Houston. I think Houston's better than Kansas. I just think they got the defense, and they can score. Kansas' biggest issue to me is their depth. They're going to reach a game in the tournament where depth is going to be a big factor for this team, and they're going to have some guys to shoot. And if they only got Hunter Dickinson playing, and the other guys are off, you can live with that. You can live with Dickinson going off, and you can live with the other guys not having a great game. Kansas, to me, is not the number 3 team in the country. I mean, even UConn could be there, honestly. 4, I'm going to go UConn. They're just so good. Caravan has come on for UConn. He's a really good player. They actually got Gonzaga Friday night, which is going to be a fun game to watch. It's the only real big game this week, which is going to be a fun game to prepare for and get to see Gonzaga, which Gonzaga lost this weekend to Washington. Keon Brooks and Severe Wheeler, former Kentucky players, they upset the Zags this past weekend. My number 5 team, I'm going to go Kansas. I just don't think Kansas is in the top 3. I just don't. I think their depth is their depth is an issue. They get guys in foul trouble, they're in trouble. The pun wasn't intended there. So, but I just think they're going to have other guys step up, especially KJ. He's going to have to step up. Harris is going to have to step up. They're going to have some other guys step up besides Hunter Dickinson, I think. And my number 16, I went back and forth on this, but between Baylor and Marquette, and I decided I'm going to go Baylor. I think this Baylor team is as good as their national championship team that they had back in 21. Ray J. Dennis is an absolute stud. He had 17 points the other night against Seton Hall. They got a big game this weekend. They play Michigan State. On another hand, I just want to say this. This was my final buzzer. I'm just going to add this into it. What in the world is happening at Michigan State right now? What's happening?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's my final buzzer. And I kind of want to drag that into here so we won't have a final buzzer. I wanted to just bring that in here. They're 4-5. And there's a possibility that now that Michigan State, 25-year streak.
And they were a top 4 team preseason.
They was. Now, they got some pieces. They got Atkins. They got Malik Hall.
Yeah.
And then they got, I'm trying to think the other guy's name, Malik Hall and Tyson Walker. And those two are pretty good, but they don't have nobody else to step up. The big man is not playing the best. They got beat this past weekend against Nebraska. They was a preseason team to win the national championship. And now they're at 4-5. And now there's a possibility that their 25-year streak of going to the NCAA tournament is in jeopardy. Because let me just say this. If you lose this weekend,
there is. Absolutely. They got to turn around.
You're 4-6. You're 4-6 going into, which is not the greatest Big Ten this year. The Big Ten is, I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's not the best. You got a few teams in there that's going to be really good. You got Illinois. I'm trying to think of the at the end of the year, Rutgers is usually good. They start out pretty slow, and then they get pretty fast. Lost train of thought. Who's in the Big Ten? Ain't that all? Wisconsin. Wisconsin will be there. Wisconsin's a pretty good team, which granted they got beat by Arizona, but who hasn't gotten beaten by Arizona? They're the number 1 team in the country. So the Big Ten, and there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for quad one wins for Michigan State. And there's an opportunity here to say, hey, Michigan State might not even make the tournament. And
I agree.
I just wanted to kind of bring that in.
Let me run through my top 6.
Oh, I know. I was just wanting to.
Let me run through
my final buzzer.
That
was my final buzzer. I just want to kind of bring that in and just talk about it a minute. So.
All right, let me run through my top 6. I mean, they're pretty close to yours. Arizona, I think, is number 1. Purdue's number 2. I would put UConn 3. I think UConn is 3. I also am going to put Houston at 4, Kansas 5, and my 6 is Marquette. I really, really like this Marquette team. I know they've lost a couple of times to some good teams. But, man, when this team is on, their guard play, they're scrappy as hell. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. It's not a team I really want to match up with if I'm a Kentucky fan, to be honest with you, in the tournament.
They're really good. That's where I battle with it.
They are
with Marquette and the last team. Who did I say? UConn, was it UConn?
You said
no,
Baylor.
Baylor. I love this Marquette team. Tyler Coley. Tyler Coley. Tyler Coley might be the best. He might be the best guard in the country.
He might be. I mean, this team is something else, man. I'm telling you. If you have not seen them play, I've watched them 3 times. They're really fun to watch. So our next one that we're going to do on our pick 6 is college basketball sleeper teams. So
I'll let you go first.
Make a run or maybe get to the Final Four. All right. Well, I mean, so I'm gonna go a little SEC flavor in this one. I think Chris Beard is doing something special down at Ole Miss. He got a big guy back eligible about a week ago, 10 days ago, and this team is 9-0. And Chris Beard's a really good coach. He brought in some pretty good players in his first year there. And I'm not saying that they're going to win it all as a sleeper team, but I mean, this team is good enough. I believe they could upset some people and make the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, something like that in his first year. And I mean, that would be a pretty good run for them. I really like this Auburn team as well. I think Auburn looks really good.
I was just going to say, I'll just say we'll do 2 and 2. Like you do 2, I do 2, and then we'll finish it out. How would that work? My number 1 is Clemson.
Yeah, that's fine.
My number 1 to me is Clemson. They got PJ Hall back. Chase Hunter's back. They get
I'm not saying these are my number 1s. I'm just pointing them out.
Yeah, and they got Joe Girard. This is a dynamic and deep backcourt that Clemson has got. And they got a big one again this weekend. They play Memphis. And I think they're ranked 13th in the country right now. There's a chance that a win over Memphis, and we're talking about a Clemson team being ranked in the top 10 in college basketball. Unheard of around here. It's just very unheard of. My second sleeper, I was going to go Ole Miss, but I think I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to go with New Mexico. I like this New Mexico team. I think they're going to be a tournament team before the year's out. New Mexico didn't make the tournament last year after the run they made, which was unfortunate because they had a really good team. They got Jamal Mashburn. His son plays for New Mexico.
At the end.
They did. They fell apart towards the end of the year. And they got Richard Pitino as head coach, which I think he's an excellent coach out there. So give me New Mexico and Clemson. That the Mountain West might be the most underrated conference in the country. There's so many teams, they beat up on each other every single year.
I said that all last year.
I've said it.
Yeah.
I've said it for the last 3 years. They just beat up on each other, and every night, from Thursday and Friday nights during the week during conference season, is absolute bonkers. Like, you see some unbelievable games at 11, 12 o'clock at night. Games that you normally wouldn't watch, you turn on the CBS Sports Network and you got the Mountain West down. So give me Clemson and New Mexico for my two.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't quite finish on Auburn, but Auburn's got a really good team. They got a freshman guard, Holloway, and got Broom in the middle. And this team has got some guards, and I mean they're a team to watch out for. And I wasn't really putting any ones in here. If you want me to talk about my two top teams, sleepers, I'm going to put Clemson in there because this Clemson team is legit, guys. Gerard, I mean, I don't know. He's in his ninth year of college basketball or something. I don't know. It's crazy. He keeps playing. I don't really. It's maybe not that much, but 6, 7. I don't know how many years he's played, but it seems like he's played forever. But PJ Hall and that they've got a legit team out there that can challenge for the ACC.
They do.
And I think that they can make a run in this NCAA tournament. My second team is going to be Kentucky, guys. I feel like this Kentucky team is, if they play at the speed that they need to play and have a good rotation of guys running in and out and not trying to play 6 or 7 guys and wearing out his crew, if they play right and use the talent that they have, I think they can run a lot of teams out of the gym. I really do. Dillingham, I know a lot of people have been talking about Reed Sheppard, and rightfully so. Reed Sheppard has played awesome, and I would put him at number 2 on my list. Dillingham, if you ask me, out of all these freshmen, and I know that Edwards and Wagner and Bradshaw and a few of these other had more accolades coming in and more people on them. But if you ask me, Dillingham's game is NBA ready right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch him play, the way he can create and shift on his own and come up with shots and stuff, he don't even need teammates. I mean, not really, to get a shot off.
Mm-hmm.
You put him in the pick and roll in the NBA with some good guy in the middle. I mean, that's lethal. I'm telling you, man, that's lethal. Absolutely lethal. And I think this team, I mean, Wagner is the engine. Reed Sheppard is the heart. And we got our first look at Bradshaw last week. Real look at Bradshaw, and he passed the test. Looked pretty good. Now we're going to find out against a real big with, against North Carolina and against North Carolina. But those would be my next two. Would be Clemson and Kentucky.
My next two is going to kind of be off. I wouldn't say off the grid, but I'm gonna go Syracuse. What Autry is doing up there at the Carrier Dome, they're playing some good basketball right now. Syracuse is. Jim Boeheim retired last year. They brought in the assistant Adrian Autry. They got Judah Mintz. He's a really good player. They got JJ Starling from Notre Dame. They got some key pieces here that has a really good chance to make some noise in the ACC. I wouldn't say win the ACC, but be in the middle of the pack. And the thing about Syracuse is this: it's feast or famine a lot of times, because they either lose in the first round or they go to the Final Four. There's no in between. That was especially with Jim Boeheim. They either made a big run or they just got eliminated in the first round. But Syracuse is my third team. My second team is Wake Forest. They got Alondas Williams. He was from Oklahoma. Wake Forest has not really had the greatest year up to par so far, but Steve Forbes is a heck of a basketball coach. He come from a mid-major, then he come into a Power 5, and he's really done some work with this Wake Forest team. They beat Duke a year ago. They've been known to have a few upsets here and there. And Wake Forest is a team not to slouch on, because they're a team that can make noise in the ACC tournament. I look for them to be a sleeper in this regular season now. Will they win and be the top 3 or 4? Probably not. But can they be middle of the pack like Syracuse can? Yes. Because Steve Forbes is a really, really good coach. They got the Gonzaga transfer, Hunter Salas. They got the Central Michigan transfer, Kevin Miller. And they got some good guard play and some big men in there. And Wake Forest can make some noise.
All right. So you went 2 ACC schools. I'm going to go with 2 teams. My next 2 teams, I'm going to go with 2 teams that made runs last year, that have a lot of players back, that I think a lot of the national thought and media is forgetting about. And that is Creighton and Florida Atlantic. I think both of these teams, in the long run, when it comes to March, are going to be teams to have some reckoning with. Creighton's 8-1, FAU is 7-2. They have lost a couple of games. They're playing a much tougher schedule this year, right off the bat, than they played last year. But I think Dusty May is an excellent coach. He has all 5 starters back from a Final Four team last year. And Creighton has been doing it for several years and made a run last year in the tournament as well. I think they ended in the Elite 8, I believe, last year, if I'm not mistaken. Creighton did, I want to say. But, man, I'm telling you, both of these teams, they have some star players back. Like I said, FAU has 5 players back. Creighton would have one of them transferred out, but they have most of their guys back. If they had him back, I mean, this Creighton team would be right up there with Marquette and UConn in the Big East, if you ask me. So those are going to be my 6 sleeper teams for college basketball. I might put some different ones in.
Well, my next one is Ohio State. They got Bruce Thornton back, Roddy Gale Jr. Thornton averaged, I think, 10 points last year. He played a lot as a freshman. And Gale Jr. didn't even have really a big role last year because there was a lot of guys sitting in front of him. But they got Zed Key back. But the biggest thing with Ohio State for me is consistency. They had a good early start to the season, and then they lose. What was it? They lost on was it on Sunday? They lost to. I'm trying to think. Ain't that awful? You forget. You forget the teams that they win. And
I really don't know who they played recently.
It was Penn State Saturday. They was, I think Ohio State had a 17. It was Penn State, right, Dave? I lose train of thought when I'm trying to do this because I forget teams. It was Penn State. They was up 17, and Penn State come back and won it. Which Penn State this year is not a really good team. They're kind of going through a transition with their coach. He left and went to Notre Dame, so it's been a tough year for.
Yeah,
but Ohio State's a team to watch. My next team, I wouldn't say this team is a sleeper, but if you're looking at it from an outside perspective, they are because they're highly ranked in the top 15, and that's Oklahoma. I'll tell you, Javian McCollum is outstanding. They got a really good big man in John Hughley. He was from Pitt. They got Jalen Moore. He's a junior. He's a 6'7" forward. They got Otega Owe. He's from Newark, New Jersey. He's a 6'5" guard. They got a fun team. I watched the game against Arkansas Saturday, and they just play fundamental basketball. They just go right at you, and they play hard for 40 minutes, and Arkansas didn't know what hit them. Arkansas got close to 2 or 3 points, and then Oklahoma just hit them with a run.
You were saying what's going on with Michigan State? What's going on with Arkansas?
That's another question. That can be another but end of the buzzer type thing. But this Oklahoma team's fun, man. They're ranked number 11th in the country. Oklahoma, if we're being honest, they got a shot at being a high seed. Like we're talking 3 in the 3 and 4 range. Moser came from Loyola, Chicago.
They have a shot at it, but there's a long season ago.
I really like this team. I think they're a really good basketball team. I think they're going to do good in Big 12 play. I think they're averaging 74 points a game. Oh no, they're 25th in the country and 84 points a game. Now, does that usually happen in Oklahoma? Not usually. Moser, he came from Loyola, Chicago. He brought that toughness to him. And he's bringing that same thing that he had at Loyola, Chicago with Sister Jean in that tournament run they had. That same mentality he's put in the Oklahoma brand and in their team. And I think they're a sleeper team, but you really don't really want to call them a sleeper team because they're ranked number 11th. But if you was looking at it from an outsider's perspective, you would think that Oklahoma is truly a sleeper team. But those are my last 2 sleepers was Ohio State and Oklahoma.
Josh, the Arkansas head coach is Eric Musselman. and they have 4 losses and were ranked inside the top like 12 or 14 preseason. And they already have 4 losses now. So that's what I was talking about.
Well,
okay.
If we're being fair with Arkansas,
so
if we're being fair with Arkansas,
talk about
they can't score. That's their main problem. They can't. They have a hard time scoring the basketball, and you can't win many games.
Can't finish
when you can't shoot.
Yeah,
and you can't score. You're going to have issues.
Yeah.
So go on.
I've watched them 4 times, and 3 of the 4 games they struggle to put the ball in the hole.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Real quick, I'm trying to run through this because I got a few other things we're going to talk about tonight. But the top 6 best college football transfers that have committed so far. I'll give you a list of some of the ones that I think are top real quick. So my top is Raleigh Leonard with transferring to Notre Dame. Oklahoma getting the Purdue transfer. Deion Burks, wide receiver, is up in there. Kentucky, in my opinion, actually has 2 of them, and that is Brock Vandagriff, the QB, 5-star QB from Georgia, and the 4-star Texas A&M wide receiver Cottrell. I'm trying to think. I had 2 other guys in my head, and now I've lost them. Oh, Dylan Gabriel transferred from Oklahoma out to Oregon. I would say him at 5, as a 5th one, and then my last one so far. I think I'll go with a cornerback. Pride, who transferred from Clemson and committed to, and we lost John, it looks like, somehow. I'm not sure what happened there. I want to say committed to Mississippi, the cornerback that I was talking about. It's an SEC school, but he's a highly rated guy. His last name is Pride. He's a cornerback. And that would be my top 6 best college football transfers so far. And I don't know if John's coming back. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it kicked him out or what. Jerry, you said the Ohio State running back's got to be up there. He's close. I think there was 2 or 3 other guys. I think, and even like I was looking up on 3 and 24/7, they had Cottrell just a smidget higher than the Ohio State running back. So
I really don't.
I've got John.
I really don't know what happened. It's done it 2 or 3 times the last couple weeks. I don't know. So
I don't know.
But anyways,
I don't know either.
My top 6, honestly, would be, I think, Cam Ward, Marcus or Dylan Gabriel. I think he was a big piece for Oregon. I'm trying to think. I think Will Rogers would be a big one, but he hasn't really committed yet anywhere. He's slated to go to Washington for a visit.
He hadn't committed yet. Yeah.
I will say this. I don't really have a top 6, but I do have some, like I said, Ryan Leonard, Cam Ward. I think Grayson McCall is in that group. Will Howard, ETN from Florida, Juice Wells. But there's a guy that is going to Missouri that I really like.
Yeah, but you're talking about people who hasn't committed. I was talking about people who have committed.
Oh, this guy has committed. He's a running
That's
back
what I was
from.
talking about.
He's a running back from Georgia State. He's going to Missouri. He was a finalist for the Doak Walker Award. I think he's really going to help Missouri. He's a big piece to the Missouri offense, which Missouri done some incredible things this year. They're playing in a New Year's Six Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So transfer portal season is still in progress. It's probably going to go on up until the first of the year. I think what's the last day is the 3rd, I think. So it's going to be wild west time until the first of the year. So, and there's still more people coming in and coming out. There's still people that haven't even transferred yet that's going to be on the board. So,
yeah, I mean the transfer portal goes up till like the middle of January. So
yes.
We still got a long ways to go. All right, so real quick, we're going to do a couple of no-fly zones. These are going to be pretty simple. The first one is the FSU filing in courts, the Florida Attorney General filing in courts over the college football playoff. I just want to say this. For me, it's an absolute no-fly on this. And the reason why is get over it. I mean, this stuff's been going on in college football for as long as I can remember. I mean, teams were left out. Matter of fact, in 1993, if you want to be legit FSU, in 1993, an undefeated West Virginia team was left out of playing for the college football championship over a one-loss Florida State team who actually went on to win the title, I'm pretty sure.
Beat Nebraska, yeah.
And,
They played Nebraska, I believe.
Florida State won it in there in 92, 93 somewhere. I can't remember exactly what year it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years that teams get left out. UCF was undefeated and they didn't. I realize they're not a power conference, but I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened before. And on top of that, we're going to a 12-team playoff next year. I don't know if you guys know that or not down in Florida or at FSU, but the problem's already fixed. This won't be happening anymore when it comes to one-loss champions versus one-loss non-champions. This won't be happening anymore. We're going to a 12-team playoff, and they figured this out about, 3 years ago. And I'm just saying, maybe you should pay attention to the news down in Florida and know what's going on, because they figured this out and voted in a 12-team playoff that starts next year. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
To me, this is a no-fly. I feel bad for Florida State. I hate that they didn't make the, college football playoff. We look at –
they should have been in, but I mean –
well, and we go back to look at old teams that have went and, been in and out of opportunities to make the playoffs and stuff. And you look at the 04 Auburn team. Auburn was one of them. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. And you just have to suck it up and go on. So it's a no-fly.
I mean, It's been happening in college football for 60 years, 80 years. As long as you can remember. I mean,
sorry about that. I was trying to talk.
For one thing,
I was trying to talk and watch my dog. My dog, I thought he was going to use the restroom on the tree. So I thought he was going to use the restroom. So that's why I was talking. But Auburn.
That's all right, man. So I'm just saying.
04 Auburn was a team. You look at 04 Auburn. I think there was a Nebraska team one year that I think that was a Heisman, though, where Tommy Frazier didn't win the Heisman because – they won it all, and he never even won the Heisman. There's been controversies.
Yeah, but this has been going on with championship teams too.
I mean, it's been going on for years, and at the end of the day, you just got to accept it. It happened. People's not going to be happy about it, but there's nothing you can do about it now. It's over and done with.
Yeah. I agree, and I think it should be closed and shut. I mean, in my book. And this one, I was looking at all the SEC teams' schedules for next year. There are 5 SEC teams this year that did not make a bowl, that did not get the 6 wins. There are 5 teams. All right. There are 6 SEC teams next year that play 4 of those 5 teams out of the 8 games. There are 5 SEC teams that only play 1 game against those non-bowl teams this year. So I know back early in the year, when we were looking at the SEC schedules when they come out, there was these all look pretty even and blah, blah, blah and all this. But after the season and you look at these schedules, I'm not so sure. Texas is coming into the SEC and gets to play 4 games against non-bowl teams of their 8. The other two of the other 4, are against 7-5 Texas A&M and 7-5 Kentucky. That's their schedule. And then they play Georgia and Oklahoma. That's their SEC schedule next year. I mean, I just, like, when you look at these, you think, man, maybe they should reshuffle this a little bit.
Well,
and I know you probably haven't looked at them.
I haven't,
but
not recently. But
when you come,
I think if you're going to play the best,
and you got 4 of your 8 games against non-bowl eligible teams,
yeah,
and
but
other teams have 1.
I don't know. You got to look at the schedule that they have in the non-conference too, because I think Texas plays some hard teams in the non-conference too. So, and you're going, and you're already
they play Michigan non-conference,
and not saying that Kentucky's not an easy game or this and that's an easy game, but I tell people all the time, if you look at recruiting rankings with the SEC, Kentucky is recruiting at a pretty good clip for what they are for Stoops, and they're still 12th in the SEC.
They are. Absolutely.
I mean, people don't even there was a couple of teams,
but they're 23rd in the country.
Yeah,
tell me how messed up that is. They're 23rd in the country, but 12th in the SEC.
It's because the SEC.
That's crazy.
I tell people all the time, the SEC is the toughest conference in football, and it will always be that way. And if you even add FSU and Clemson, it's going to get even harder, because then you're going to go to 16 teams? No, we're going to go 16 next year.
I honestly don't think that FSU is going to get added to the SEC.
I'm going to tell you how
might,
I feel about this.
But
I feel like this is a no fly.
Everything I'm hearing, the SEC would like to add a North Carolina team and a Virginia team. That's what I'm hearing. Not Clemson and FSU.
Here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, next year we're going to 16 teams, and the schedule gets a little bit harder. And when you look at it from a realignment deal, the G5 and these little schools are going to be left in the mud, because what you're going to have is you're going to have a bunch of power conferences form, like just a power like 20 teams, 22 teams, and it's just going to be Power 5 against Power 5. And a lot of these little schools,
John,
are going to be left out.
Let's look real quick. Let's look at the top 13 in the college football playoff rankings this year. Okay? The top 13 teams, there's only one team out of the top 13 that is not going to be in either the Big Ten or the SEC next year, and that's FSU.
Mm-hmm.
FSU was the only team that's not going to be in the Big Ten or the SEC next year out of the top 13.
That's what I'm getting at.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen next year, because these teams have to play each other. They'll have to play each other. So, one or two of them may drop out. It may not be 13, but I guarantee you out of the top 10, there's 8 of them. I'll guarantee it right now.
And the thing too, with this whole realignment, I tell people all the time with this realignment that, you got USC going to a Big Ten school. Now they got to play Michigan and Ohio State. So it evens up the playing field now to where USC don't have a bunch of cupcakes anymore. They got to actually go and play some tough-nosed football. So it changes every single thing. So that's my take on the whole realignment thing.
It does. Josh, Jerry, I'm trying to, but I'm going to move on to my last little topic here of the night, and that is the SEC preseason. A lot of people thought the SEC was going to get 8, 9, 10 teams in March Madness and the NCAA tournament. And I'm talking college basketball here again, kind of switching things up back and forth. And the SEC has not opened well in the first 5 weeks of the season. Like I said, Arkansas has got 4 losses. They were a top 14, 15 team. Alabama has, been playing some good teams, but they've lost 2 or 3 times now. They were up in there. Texas A&M, everybody thought they were going to be, top 10 team, and right there picked to possibly win the SEC. They haven't looked good. They have fallen out of the top 25. Right now, there are 2 teams left in the top 25. And one of them is Tennessee, and they have like 3 losses.
And Kentucky's the other one.
And Kentucky's the other one. My question to you, John, is the SEC gonna save some face and like climb and really a down year, even though everybody kind of thought it was going to be a tough year.
Well, this weekend, we'll find out just how really good they are. Kentucky plays.
What's up, Bodkin?
Kentucky plays North Carolina. Texas A&M plays Houston. Tennessee plays NC State. If I'm forgetting one, Alabama plays Creighton. So we're going to find out how good the SEC is this weekend. And you got LSU playing Kansas State. So this weekend's slate is loaded from top to bottom. And we're going to find out what they're made of.
Hang on just a second. Pause that thought. All right, Nick Botkins is with us. He does his own show, the Botkins Show there. You can see he asked about his girl, Caitlin Clark, if she's coming back next year or not. All I know is if you want her to come back, you're going to have to pony up. Because she technically could with that extra year. If she does, man, there ain't nobody that's going to catch her in scoring from here to on out. They could play for 200 more years, and ain't nobody going to catch Caitlin Clark. That's all I'm going to say, if she does. She has talked about it. She has thought about it. But so Indianapolis, I think, got the number 1 pick. They got Aaliyah Boston last year. And you think, man, could you have a team with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark on the same team in the WNBA? That'd be pretty damn sweet, actually. Bottle that in there. But go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, but
I had to answer him real quick. Do you think the SEC can rebound?
We got Texas A&M playing Houston this weekend. We got Alabama playing Creighton. Kentucky plays North Carolina. You got, like I said, Tennessee playing NC State. And there's so many others that's going to be playing this weekend. The slate is absolutely loaded. So I think they can rebound. But I will say this.
I love me some Caitlin Clark, Watkins.
I will say this, as far as the SEC goes, I think the top 4, if you're looking at from 1 on through 4, right now it's Tennessee, Kentucky. You got to put Auburn in there, and then you got to put Alabama. And then after that, it's an absolute crapshoot. It's just it's middle of the pack, whoever's there. And at the end of the day,
better than the rest of these teams that we're talking about. I think Auburn looks better than the rest of these teams.
I do too.
That's talking about.
That's why I got Auburn at 3.
I mean,
that's why I got Auburn at 3.
Out of the teams that I have seen in the SEC, like Alabama's there. I'm not going to say they've lost to some really good teams when they've lost. So Alabama's there. Okay. I would put, I'm not even really all that impressed with Tennessee. Their offense is stale. It's around Connect or whatever his name is. And they just don't rotate the ball around. It's dribble bounce with him and looking for him. And I would say I would put Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Auburn as my top 4 right now. The rest of them, I just haven't seen them play all that great.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier about the Big Ten. We'll have to get on there. We spoke on it. It's not going to be the best. Beyond Purdue, it's kind of down. I mentioned it about Michigan State, but
Nick, by the way, on my show, and I'll pass it on. Botkins he's with LTS, and that's Let's Talk Sports. I'm part of it as well. We are too. check him out. He actually does several different shows. He's on.
There's no West and East,
I'll
Josh.
just throw that out there. I'll hit you up and get you a little
There's
pub.
I'll
get you a little pub there, bud.
There's no West and East, Josh. They're full rankings now. I mean, you got teams in the West and stuff, but it's not a division.
I'm not sure. Is he talking about basketball here? Yeah, there's no divisions.
There are no divisions anymore. No. But
yeah,
I tell you, and Mississippi State's in there too, in South Carolina. You know, South Carolina's there. But I wanted to kind of do the last buzzer.
I would put Mississippi State in there too.
I wanted to do the last buzzer tonight. So,
all right. Hang on a minute. Watkins, I'll hit you back, man. He does some really good work, so check him out. Let's talk sports. Also got, I don't know, 2 or 3 other shows that he does with them. NFL stuff, all sports stuff. I mean, check him out. He's great.
It's been the last 2 to 3 years, ain't it, Brad? They cut divisions out 2 or 3 years ago. It's been straight top 10, top 11, 14.
Yeah, it's been a while in basketball.
Yeah. They ain't done divisions
in a while.
Time. Yeah, they ain't done divisions in a long
time. All right.
Time.
Yeah, it's been a while since they had divisions in basketball. All right, John. What's your final buzzer?
My final buzzer is, what is the status of Arkansas basketball? That's kind of where I wanted to go with this tonight. They was picked.
If you're watching the Oklahoma game over the weekend, Eric Musselman lost his cool exactly in the same way he lost his cool against Oklahoma like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looked bad.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
He just looked like a little midget running around there, just terrorizing people.
He's like 5'4". I mean,
he was just but that's what I want. I didn't want to speak on it long, but everybody picked them to be, they had the portal. They won the portal. This past summer, everybody was predicting them to be the top team in the SEC, and everybody was just kind of predicting them to have another Elite Eight team, which they can. They possibly can. But at the end of the day, if this Arkansas team don't get it together, they do. They have tons of talent. They got Tremaine Mark from Houston. They got Trevon Brazile, Devo Davis come back. They have Jalen Graham. Brazile, Graham. Yeah. And I'll say this. If this continues with Arkansas, I just don't see them going far in the tournament, especially with the way they played against Oklahoma. And, they beat Duke, but Duke is not as good as everybody thought now. Duke might not be as the team that Duke usually is. So, Arkansas, they got to score. They're not scoring. It looks like they get behind and they force a lot of shots. And then I think sometimes they just get stagnant at times. And it's bad basketball.
I told you, I've watched 4 games. The one the other night, I mean, there was a stretch. They were 7 of 25 from the floor. I mean,
that's not going to win you many.
That's terrible.
It's not going to win you many games.
I mean, that's what, 25%?
Yes. It's not going to win you many games, especially in the SEC.
30%.
And what's so tough about this is this Arkansas team was picked first to win the SEC. They was picked to win the SEC. One of the top teams to win the SEC.
They were the highest ranked. They were the highest ranked preseason SEC team.
You know, and they had I think they had the number one portals too. The portal, they won the portal too. And it just seems like there's no consistency
they did
with the Arkansas team. You know, the last couple of years they've done this and then they kind of turn it on towards the tournament time. But why can't you turn it on early in the year and late in the year?
They've done great in the
middle of the year. You know, they seem like they start out so slow and then it takes them forever to get back and then they're right back. And then, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't say Musselman's on the hot seat, but I would say that if this continues, Arkansas fans won't put up with it, especially in basketball, because they have a really rich tradition, especially, you know, Corliss Williamson, Scotty Thurman, Corey Beck, Nolan Richardson. This is to me, this is a basketball school.
For the last 35 years they have, for sure.
This is a basketball school, and it's a passionate fan base. Arkansas fans are, you know, they're as passionate as they come. They're like Kentucky fans in a way with the way they're passionate about their team. But Arkansas, you got to score to win basketball games. You can't go 2 and 3 minute droughts and not be able to score. So that was my final buzzer tonight. I kind of want to just kind of clink in on Arkansas because it's been a really tough year for them so far.
All right, guys. So I'm going to give you a couple of updates. We got stuff going on. We got holidays coming up. So our next show, it says Sunday, but that should be Thursday. I'm sorry, I did not change the date and time on that. It is Thursday the 14th, and it's there. It's going to be our game day, college SportsCast game day pick'em. Me and John will be with you this Thursday on the 14th at 8 o'clock. Sorry. But we will not be doing a show this Sunday. I'm actually going out of town. I will not be doing a show on Sunday. And then the next Tuesday. Sunday is Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. We will not be doing a show then on Christmas Eve. And I know that we probably won't be doing a show the day after Christmas on the 26th. And this one I'm not 100% sure on yet. But I do know the next 2 Sundays we will not be doing shows. So I just want to.
We will be here. We will be here next Tuesday and Thursday, though.
Yes.
And this Tuesday and Thursday. So
yes, this Tuesday and Thursday.
Get us while you can.
Tuesday and Thursday we will be here. But we got holiday stuff coming up and things like that. So we're gonna miss
and Brad's got to eat his pecan pie. His pecan pie. His pecan pie. He's got to have his pecan pie.
I do love it if you want. Y'all can all send me some if you want. I'll eat it.
Oh, I will say this before we go. There is a loaded slate this weekend, so there's going to be a lot of games to pick from on Thursday.
There is. So, we're going to have fun picking games on Thursday because there is a great slate of college football or college basketball games.
And there's no college football this weekend.
There actually is.
Oh, there is. Okay.
There actually is. There is 6 bowl games that we're going to pick on Saturday. There's 6 bowl games, and we're going to go through all the bowl season. I did it last year. We're going to go through all the bowl season each week and pick the games that are coming up. So we will go through and pick some games and have a little bit of fun with it. So we're gonna have a fun show on Thursday. Y'all join us. This has been College SportsCast, the Big Fuss Show. Sorry, I was looking at the bourbon balls. I do want some bourbon balls, Josh Hart. Yeah, you can send me some of those too. I do want some bourbon balls. All right. Y'all have a good night. I'll see you later.
Have a good one.